Alright, so let's talk about prerequisites, what we need to continue this course, and we'll be installing them in the next video. So first of all, we need our code editor, and for this tutorial I'll be using VS Code. There are other code editors out there, but personally I prefer VS Code because it's easy to set up. It's also easy to install extensions. So we're going to be installing Flutter extensions on VS Code so that it can help us in our development with the autocomplete feature. We would also need it for debugging, right? We can run our whole Flutter project inside VS Code, and if there's any issues, VS Code will help us debug it using the extension that we'll be installing, right? Then we would need Android Studio as well. For you to build Android application, Android Studio is a must, right? So Android Studio contains all the tools and packages, all the tools that is needed to compile your code into an Android bundle or an Android APK, right? So even while developing and you want to run your code in your emulator, your physical device, Android Studio contains everything that is needed for that as well. Next is, we'll be installing Android Studio in the next video as well. We'll set it up, install everything that is needed. Then the next is Flutter SDK. This is a must as well because we are using the Flutter framework, right? So we need to download their SDK, set it up on our system, so that when we are running Flutter in our command, when we are typing Flutter commands in our command line, our system is going to recognize the command, right? So we'll be doing that in the next video as well. Then we need emulator or a physical device. In order for you to build your mobile applications, you need to run them in your devices, right? So an emulator is just like having your phone on your computer, right? So most of the times you want to just focus on your screen, so you will have your Android emulator set up, just like the name says emulator. It emulates your physical phone, right? So it's just like having your phone on your computer. So as you are writing your code, you are seeing the output on the phone that is inside your computer. So that is for emulator. Or you can run it on a physical device. Sometimes it's better to run your code in a physical device if your computer or your laptop is not strong enough to handle an emulator, right? Because an emulator consumes RAM, so your computer needs to have high RAM and high resources to use an emulator. Then if you want to build your app for iOS and you want to deploy to Apple Store, you need a MacBook for that, right? So you can work on your normal Windows or Linux for the Android application part, but when you want to deploy to iOS, or when you want to deploy to an iOS device, to an iPhone, you need a MacBook, right? So later in this tutorial we'll be talking on how to set up MacBook for deployment, running it on iOS. That is it for our prerequisite. This is everything we need